Most people walk through life completely unaware of the value they are carrying. They wait for circumstances to change. They wait for opportunities to appear, for perhaps someone to finally notice them, not realizing that the biggest shift in their life will happen the moment they uncover or they unlock what God already placed within them. You know, the world around you changes only after the world within you is uncovered. And here's the real courage, not becoming somebody else or someone else, but unearthing who you always being, the real you, the real human God made you to be. You've seen perhaps people who shift the whole atmosphere the moment they enter a room. They don't need applause, they don't need titles, they don't need a platform, but their presence brings energy. They bring hope, maybe clarity, maybe a direction. What is their secret? It's not just talent. It is not just luck, not charisma. It is value, unlocked, expressed, and flowing value. They understand that value isn't something you just achieve. It's something you release. And the truth is, you carry that same potential. The only difference is that for many people, their value stays buried under fear. It stays buried under distraction, pain, unhealed stories, and even misplaced loyalties. When you uncover your value, you don't just elevate your life, you multiply change in the lives of everyone around you. Welcome to Wisdom Etc. My name is Flavio, and in today's video we are diving into the power of the value you carry and how to unlock what God has already placed within you. And by the end of this episode, you will understand why your value feels buried and how to excavate what God has put inside of you. How opposition reveals your calling, and how to stop living like a reservoir and start living like a river flowing. So let's get into it. Your life is a source of value. Think of your value as energy. Your words, your skills, your character, your creativity, they all carry energy into the world. When your inner world is aligned with God's design, with God's purpose, right? People can feel it. You know, rooms shift, hearts will soften, opportunities open, things will take place. But when something inside you is misaligned, your value leaks instead of flowing. Sometimes you are releasing your value in the wrong environments, in the wrong direction. Sometimes your value is misunderstood. Sometimes you hold back because of fear, because of doubt, or perhaps your past that still has a voice, oppressing you, holding you back. So you weren't designed to store value like a reservoir. You were designed to flow like a river. Rivers bring life because they move. Reservoirs, they stagnate because they don't. And when you withhold your gifts, your ideas, your voice, frustration grows. But when you let value flow, then energy multiplies. This is how you multiply your energy, you influence others. Your story is one of the greatest source of value. Biblically and psychologically speaking, stories transform perception. When you share your testimony, not to promote yourself, but to reveal what God has done, your value multiplies. Your story travels further than your presence. It becomes a river of influence. You tell it first to yourself, then you tell it to others, and eventually to the people who most need it. Someone today around the world needs to hear your story. They need to hear your testimony. They need to hear of your experience. Opposition often reveals your value. This is the part many people miss. Jesus taught that resistance isn't always a sign you were wrong. Often it's a confirmation of your assignment. Your light, your message will attract hungry people, hunger to hear you, but also will attract hostility. And people rarely resist what is insignificant. They often resist what challenges their comfort or confront their limits. Your role is not to chase approval. Your role is to stay faithful to the value you carry, faithful to the message you carry, the message God has put it within you. Perhaps with your story, sharing your story, you share the message to those who need to hear that. The limit of your value is whatever you idolize. One of the greatest lessons we can learn in the Old Testament is how ancient Israel replaced worship to the true God with an idol. So in many parts of the Old Testament, there is this theme of idolatry. And we human, we are worshippers, right? We were designed to worship. And that means to give focus, to give our attention, to give our love or veneration. And in fact, we were designed to worship God, the true God, in our relationship with Him. And as we worship Him, we live out His goodness and reflect His glory and so on. But there are many idols disputing our attention and disputing our time. And we become like what we worship. So whatever you idolize becomes the ceiling or the ceiling of your value. Now, if you idolize people's opinion will limit you. If you idolize a status, your image will trap you. And if you idolize your past, you remain buried under your past, under it. Only God can be worshipped. Not because He needs our praise, but because everything else will shrink us. Everything else will shrink you. God wants you free so that you can grow. Proverbs 25:2 says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, the glory of kings to search it out." Your life has buried treasure. Talents never explored, callings you've suppressed, and perhaps wounds that were never healed, stories that you have never processed. Excavation is the courage to go beneath the surface and ask, what is it that is buried in me that God wants to bring into the light? And it takes honesty. It may bring tears. But once something buried is uncovered, it no longer controls you. What you avoid controls you more than what you confront. So think about it. Your purpose isn't accumulation, it's a movement. A river is powerful because it is fed by many streams. Just like you, your family, your faith, your failures, your mentors, your experiences. When these streams converge, values multiplies. Healing multiplies when shared. Wisdom multiplies when taught. Provision multiplies when stewarded. And faith multiplies when expressed. Your job is simple. It's keep the river flowing. Keep flowing. Keep multiplying the value that you have. Now, you were created to generate value. And this value is spiritually, emotionally, relationally, creatively. When you uncover your buried stories, you confront limits, you release your gifts, and you keep your heart centered on God, then you become a river that refreshes everyone around you. But I will leave you with one question for you to consider. What is one buried part of your story, a skill or calling that God is asking you to uncover, to bring it out? Think about it, right? And perhaps one action. Choose one act of value today. Maybe send encouragement. Share a testimony to someone. Take a bold step, or start healing a wound, or perhaps offer a gift. Right? So let your river flow, let your life flow. And if this message spoke to you, drop a comment, hit like button, share it with someone who needs this reminder. So this is Flavio, and this is Wisdom, etc. Until next time, keep the river flowing. Hey, God bless.